Thanks for listening, everybody, to Mouth Dancing. That's what you're listening to right now. I thought I would start this episode off with the thank yous instead of at the end like I usually do, so that you know how much I appreciate your listens right off the bat. I don't want to lose any listeners, right at the beginning of the episode because they think I'm not thankful. That's why I wanted to do it first, so no one gets the wrong idea and just, turns it off in like a huff. Throws their phone across the room or smashes their computer or whatever device you're using to listen to this. I don't want that to happen. I want you to be happy, and I want you to know that I'm thankful. Anyway, let's get on with today's business. Have you ever eaten a really spicy food? I'm pretty sure most of you have out there. If you haven't, you should try it at least once. I know some people are not good at eating spicy food, like there's too much black pepper in their food, it's like too spicy for them and they freak out. But, that's toddler level stuff when it comes to eating spicy food. Black pepper is not even really a spice. It's just like a bare necessity, You gotta get into the red peppers and the jalapenos, chilies, all that kind of stuff. That's when you get the spice, the real spice. And one such food is flaming hot Cheetos. Have you ever had those? They're fairly spicy. I think it's kind of, what do you call that? It's a cumulative spice. So the first few bites, you're like, this is not that bad. It's not that spicy. You're just shoving them down your throat, But then it builds up. The spice builds up, and then eventually you're like, wow, this is getting really spicy, and, you are drinking beverages and things to cool your tongue off. You might be working up a sweat, or even have a runny nose. I don't know, everyone reacts a little bit differently to spicy foods. But I think one reaction that generally most of us who've had spicy food that we all share in common is, what happens when it comes out later. And if it was spicy enough, it's really gonna do a number on your butthole, isn't it? You're gonna feel it a second time when it comes out. It's like your butthole is tasting spicy food too. Crazy how that spiciness survives your digestive system and then it comes out the other end, and then your butthole can feel it. But that's when you know you've had something really spicy, because it's spicy going down and then it's still spicy coming out. If it was just something with like black pepper and salt, it doesn't really do that to you. You don't feel it coming out. You have to have some real peppers in there, Some red peppers, maybe some green ones, maybe some white ones, maybe some ghost peppers. But if you eat enough of that stuff, it just absolutely devastates your butthole on the way out. I guess if you're a really big time lover of spicy food, it's kind of like getting to enjoy it twice, right? Maybe one of the, rare times in your life when you actually taste food with your butthole instead of your mouth. Or maybe your butthole's not tasting it actually, right? It's kind of like, it's more of a sensation, like a burning sensation. You're not actually tasting anything down there. It's a real wake-up call though, isn't it? You kind of get that high again from eating spicy food. What is it, like endorphins? Get an endorphin rush in your butthole the second time. Yeah, so eat a whole bag of flaming hot Cheetos and then see what happens. Or a real spicy, Mexican meal or even Asian meal. Thai food is pretty spicy. Korean food can be fairly spicy, but it's all just red peppers pretty much. I think in Thai food and Mexican food you get a little more different varieties of peppers maybe? Actually, I'm not sure about that. I think Mexican probably has the most varieties of peppers because peppers came from the Americas in the first place. Probably have more variations. You've heard about alien abductions, right? We've all heard these stories like on TV shows. Someone says they were sleeping and then, they woke up in the middle of the night and there was all these bright lights in their room. And then they ended up in like a UFO. Then aliens did experiments on them and stuff. And then eventually they went back home, but, it was quite an ordeal for them. And they can remember what happened. There were these like gray men, with these big heads and big bug eyes. They had them on some sort of like examination table and they were poking and prodding them to learn more about humans, right? I think a lot of people these days, probably more people than before, believe there are aliens out there and that they probably have abducted humans at some point to check them out, experiment on them. I'm not discounting the theory that there are aliens because I think there probably are. But my theory is that a lot of these alien abductions that have happened were actually the government, the American government. And they could hide what they were doing by pretending to be aliens, right? So what the aliens were was actually just like scientists who worked for the government in like rubber suits or something. And they were experimenting on normal citizens that way. I think that's what a lot of these alien abductions were. Maybe some of them were actual alien abductions and the government knows about it. But then they're like, you know what? This is actually a good way for us to actually experiment on people as well. And that's what some of these alien abductions were, was actually like the CIA or FBI or NSA or, whatever alphabet agency. And they were probably performing things like mind control experiments or testing out certain drugs, and just wondering how humans will respond to the certain things that the government does to control us, They brainwash us to make us more docile. They use propaganda and other methods, like probably like sound waves or, I'm not sure, like some sort of digital waves that they can broadcast. And they use drugs and they indoctrinate us through the education system, through the media. Even some people whom you trust, they could just be government agents who are manipulating you, You think this person's your friend and they're feeding you this interesting information, but they're actually a spook. And this stuff is documented, actually. The CIA, they disclose documents after a certain amount of time, like 50 years or something. And they really have done experiments on humans, like mind control stuff like MK Ultra. And I'm not making that up. It's not a lie. So if you've been abducted by an alien, I think there are two basic possibilities. One, they were actually aliens who did it. Or two, it was your own government. The US government did it to you. And, their job was to discredit stories like this too and say, oh, maybe the person was hallucinating. Maybe this person was on drugs. They try to ruin your reputation and say, oh, well, this person, they're crazy. Or they're a drug addict. Or they're just doing it for attention. Trying to get money or fame. And they just smear your reputation and try to just destroy your life. That's why you got to be careful. I think you got to be more careful of the US government than you do of aliens. I think the aliens have more benign motives. They're curious. They want to know about us. But the government is actually more of an enemy to you than aliens are. They want to control your mind. They want you to be a useful servant to the capitalist machine, the American empire, the military. The military needs this information. And the CIA needs this information to, do things not just in our country, but all over the world. They like to overthrow governments that don't play ball, the way they want. They stage, revolutions and coups in other countries so they could change the regime. They start wars under false pretenses, like Iraq and Afghanistan, for instance. That's just the very recent and obvious example, but they've been doing it all throughout history, pretty much every major war. And yeah, that's the point I'm making. You got to be more wary of your own government than aliens. And your own government could actually be posing as aliens to get information or conduct experiments on you. So watch out. And on a similar note, let's delve a little bit deeper into the media. All right? The media, the news that you consume, it's basically all CIA now. That's not an exaggeration. It's all controlled by the CIA. All the writers, the journalists, all the people running the organizations, the editors, the executives, the secretaries, whatever, accountant, they're all CIA people now, and all the information you get is basically propaganda. CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, Associated Press, New York Times, all of that is the CIA. And that's a fact, that's not an exaggeration. There was a time in the past when the American press was actually reporting news and trying to do it in an unbiased way. But like in the 60s, maybe even earlier, the CIA started infiltrating the media. There was a famous thing called Operation Mockingbird, where, they had infiltrated press rooms all over the country, and it was kind of a scandal at the time, and they had to pull back a little bit, but decades later now, it's reached the point where it's not just a few CIA spies in the media. The whole entire media is spies. And all the information you're getting is almost complete bullshit. Or there's grains of truth in it. And then they use that to spin the information. They spin the truth. And they manipulate you into supporting wars or thinking North Korea is going to get you. It's just a ridiculous idea. What is North Korea going to do? They're going to invade the United States somehow? There's hundreds of military bases in Asia. If North Korea even tried to launch an assault on the US, it would be obliterated in seconds. Kim Jong-il can't do anything to you, man. They can make fun of his haircut all they want, and make you think he's evil because he's fat and has a weird haircut, but he's not going to be able to attack the United States. I'm not saying he's a great guy or anything, but the press, the media is manipulating you. They're fear-mongering. And that's how they control you. That's a form of mind control. And you know who's behind all this stuff? Rich people like Jeff Bezos or Bill Gates or, the Rockefellers, other rich people who aren't even in the spotlight like Bill Gates or Elon Musk. These rich people that you don't even know of, who hold billions, trillions of dollars. And if you're that rich, the world is pretty much your oyster. You can control anyone with money. Who can turn down a bribe of millions of dollars? That could change your entire life. Millions of dollars. You'll do evil shit for that. And don't think you're an exception. I'm not an exception. I would probably cave to that as well. If someone came up to me and offered me $1 million to do evil shit for the government or the media. I'm not going to lie. But that's how they control the planet. their, media tentacles are just wrapped around your mind. And your mind is like wrestling with these tentacles and trying to break free of their influence and see the light. It's like that movie, The Matrix. You gotta break free and see what's really happening. You gotta wake the fuck up. You gotta put on those glasses like in They Live, and then you can see the truth and the evil behind it all. Anyway, that's the end of this episode. I'll see you next week. Bye.